Hello. Today we are going to be finding the volume of irregular prisms. In our warm-up today, we started by finding the length of the missing sides of an irregular shape. We're going to do two examples like that in our notes because it will help with finding volume, and then we'll move into the volume of a regular prism. Okay, so let's look at this first example on the left. What you want to do in this example is you want to find the length of two missing sides. So let's first figure out what the two missing sides are, and then we can go from there. When I'm looking at the shape we have now, I see that this side is 10 millimeters. I see that this side is 9 millimeters. I see that this side is 5 millimeters. And this one's a little tricky because it's kind of in the middle, but it's this one that is 6 millimeters. So what I need to find is X on the top and Y on the side over here. Now I'm going to be asking you to stop and pause to solve things a lot in this video, so make sure you're following along and filling in as we go. So let's start with X. We're going to do this one a little bit more together, and then I'm going to have you do the second one kind of on your own. When I'm looking at X up here on the top, I know that I need to look at the bottom of the triangle, knowing that this side is 10 millimeters, which means that all the way across here would be 10 millimeters. And I need to look at the fact that this piece is 6 millimeters, because this right here would be 6 then. So I know that all the way across is 10, and this piece is 6. So if I take the whole way across 10 and take away the 6 that was left above it, I know that I have 4 left for X right here. What I know is that this is 6, so this is 4, because all together this has to be 10. So I found that X equals 4. We're going to do the same thing for the other side. We're going to look at Y, but what we need to know is that all the way across for Y is 9. So this whole piece is 9. And the other piece that I know is this 5 millimeters right here. So I know that this is 5 millimeters. Which means the entire piece has to be 9. This piece is 5. The entire piece has to be 9. This piece alone is 5. So what I find is 9 minus 5 equals 4. So that means this piece has to be 4, because 5 plus 4 has to equal the entire side of 9. So in the end, I found that X equals 4 and Y equals 4. The X and the Y, or the missing sides, are not always going to turn out to be exactly the same. We have to go by the figure. All right, let's look at the right one. Here's the pieces that I know. I know this side is 5 yards. I know this side is 6 yards. I know this side is 2 yards, and this side is 3 yards. So again, I'm missing X on the top and Y on the side. So I would like you to pause the video right now and try and figure out what X is. Okay, welcome back. So let's look at X. We knew that all the way across was 5 yards. And we knew that this piece right here was 2 yards. So what I have to do is I have to take 5 minus the 2 to find out what this missing piece would be. 5 minus 2 equals 3. So I know that x is 3. And if I plug that in, I see that 2 and 3 do equal 5. Now we're going to look at y. Pause the video for a second and try to figure out what y is, and then we will go from there. Okay, welcome back. So now we're looking at y. Here's what I need to know for y. I know that this whole side is 6. So all the way across would be 6. And I know that this piece is 3. So the whole piece is 6, and what I'm missing, what I have, is 3. So I have to take 6 minus 3, and what I have left is 3. So this missing piece is 3. Again, if I look, if I say this piece is 3, I see that 3 and 3 equal the 6 that it should be. So part of what we need to do today is be able to find missing sides so that you can find volume of separate pieces. So let's take a look at the first example for finding volume of irregular prisms. Now if you look at this shape, you can kind of see that it's 2 regular prisms pushed together. I'm going to kind of draw that in so you can see what I'm talking about, because that is what step 1 is going to ask you to do. In step 1 of these problems, you are going to break the shape into 2 or more regular prisms. All right, so when I look at this shape, I feel like the easiest place to break it is if I take this right here off. So then what I'm looking at is this shape right here and this regular prism right there. And it works out nicely because I can find volume of the 2 separate shapes then. We're going to call this one shape number 1 and this one shape number 2. So now that I've done step 1, I've broken the shape into 2 separate pieces. Step 2 is to find the volume of one of the shapes. Okay, so we're going to start with number 1. I know that volume equals length times width times height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the volume by finding the length, the width, and the height of just number 1. Now this can get a little bit tricky. I can see the length very easily because it's in the front right here. So I can see that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. So I know that my length is 5. The width is kind of tricky because we can only see these two pieces along the bottom. And you almost have to feel like you're taking this second piece and moving it away, because what you're really looking at is all the way across. If you see on top, that bottom shape goes all the way through like that. So when I'm counting the width, I'm really going to be counting up on the top here, that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes wide. So the width of that shape is 4. And then the height is still this piece right here. So I have 1, 2, and 3. We have to count this one twice because we're using it for part of the height too. So the height then is 3. So volume of shape number 1 is 5 times 4 is 20 times 3. So the volume of the first shape is 60 units cubed. Step 2 then, or step 3, I'm sorry, is to find the volume of the other shape, or prism, it should say. So now I'm looking at number 2. Again, volume equals length times width times height. Okay, so we're looking at the second one now. I can see the length is right here. I see that it's 1, 2, 3 for my length, times, you could see the entire width in this one. I see the width is 1, 2 across, so 2 for the width, times, oops, the height, which would be right here. So counting up, 1, 2, 3. You can see the height. So the volume equals 3 times 2, which is 6, times 3. The volume is 18 units cubed. So now I have the volume of shape 1 and the volume of shape 2. So what I need to do now is, for the last step, is I need to add the volumes. And that will give you the total volume. So the third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 60 plus 18 to find that the total volume is 78 units cubed. And that is the answer to the volume of that irregular prism. Okay, so now I'd like to speed it up a little bit. There's a little difference for this next problem. You notice that this problem does not have the cubes in it. So you have to use the idea of what we learned at the beginning of the lesson to be able to find the length of missing sides if you're going to be using them. Okay, So let's look at this shape. I feel like the best place to break this shape up is to take this piece and bring it all the way down. So then we know, and I don't know if you could see that. Let's try that again. Take this piece and bring it all the way down. That might be a little bit easier to see. So now we're looking at two different shapes. I have shape 1 up here and shape 2 down here. All right, so let's look at shape number 1. When I'm looking at shape number 1, I need a length, I need a width, and notice where I'm drawing my width, just because I can't draw it along the bottom there, because the other piece is in its way, and I need a height. You could also look at the top of the shape for length and width instead of the bottom of the shape. I think we get in the habit of trying to find the bottom as the length and the width, but really, when you think about it, we could also look at these two pieces right here as length and width to help us out. Now, it just so happens that we have the length of all of those pieces. When I look here, I see the length as 6. You see it across here. The width, although it's not written right here, you see that it's the same as this, which is the same as this, which is the same as this, and they show you that that one's 4. So that's 4 millimeters times the height, which is the piece up on the top, the 2 millimeters. So again, I have length is 6, width is 4, and height is 2. You're going to have to take your time to figure out those pieces because sometimes they're hidden and sometimes you have to figure them out. So take a second to find the volume of the first piece. All right, you should have found the volume to be 48 millimeters cubed. I multiplied 6 times 4 to get 24, and 24 times 2 is 48. So the second piece of the shape is going to be a little bit tougher. I know that I need a length and a width, and I already know the length is 4. I need a width, which I do not have, and I need a height, which I do not have. So for both of those pieces, I'm going to have to figure out what they are. So let's first take a look at the width. I see that all the way across this shape is 10. And I knew from shape 1 that this piece is 6. So to find my missing side, to find the side right here, I need to take 10 minus 6. That equals 4. So this missing side, the width, is 4. Now I need to think about the height. The height is this piece right here. I know that from here to here is 1, and I'm looking at this right here to find that. So from here to here is 1, and I know that the whole thing is 2, and I looked at the 2 over here to find that. So I have to take 2 minus 1. Again, I'm taking the total height minus this piece right here. So basically this total height, and I'm taking away this piece right here to find the height that I'm missing. And 2 minus 1 equals 1. So I see that my height is 1. So for the volume, I have to find 4 times 4 times 1. So could you please solve to find the volume of the second shape? Okay, so you found the volume of the second shape. You should have done 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 1 is 16 millimeters cubed. The third thing we have to do now is we have to find the total volume. Total volume is when you add 48 and 16 together to find the total volume of the shape. Take a second to find 48 plus 16 and put your answer in, and we will compare. Okay, so you should have found 48 plus 16 to be 64 millimeters cubed. So your total volume would be 64 millimeters cubed. All right, let's move on. We're looking at this next shape. I'm going to give you even more to look at here. What I want you to do is first split your shape. There are 2 ways to split the shape in this one. One way is to split it here and look at this as shape 1 and this is shape 2. The other way is to split it here and to look at this as shape 1 and this as shape 2. I'm going to keep it this way, and for your notes purposes, I need you to keep it this way as well. All right, so I want you to find the volume of shape number 1. Take a second, put your answer in just for the volume of shape number 1. Okay, so here is what we should have looked at. I had to find a length, a width, and a height of this shape. I can already see I can use the 3 as the length of that side. And when I look here, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece are all the same. So since they're all the same, I know that the width is also 3. The height was a little bit trickier. I had to look at the fact that this is 5. This piece right here is 5. Let me use a different color. This piece is 5. And then I needed to know what this piece was, so I could add those together to find the total height. I see over here that it shows me that that piece is 3. So you take 5 plus 3, and you see that this entire side equals 8. So 3 times 3 times 8, 9 times 8, you get 72 centimeters cubed. All right, that's the first piece. Let's look at the second piece. I'm going to write in a different color. The second piece, take a second to try and find the volume of piece 2, or the second shape, and come back and compare your answer. Okay, so we're looking at this piece right here. I see that I need a length, and the length only goes to this part, a width, and a height. So the only thing I really need to worry about is the length, this piece right here, because I already have my width and I already have my height at 3 and 3. So we know that all the way across is 8 centimeters. And we know that this piece right here, by looking all the way at the top, is 3 centimeters. So if I take 8 minus 3, what I have left is 5. So my missing piece is 5, which makes sense because 3 plus 5 equals 8. So my length was 5, my width was 3, and my height was 3. When I multiply those, I get 15 times 3, which is 45 centimeters cubed. Okay, now you again. Now we are going to find the total volume of this shape. Take a second to find the total volume of this shape, and then come back and compare your answer. Okay, so what you should have done is taken 72 centimeters cubed plus 45 centimeters cubed, and you find that 72 plus 45 is 117 centimeters cubed. This should have been your answer after you added those two pieces together. If any of this has been wrong, you need to make sure that you're going back and changing your answers so you have them right. Okay, we're going to do the last one just as fast as this one. Let's talk about where we're splitting this one up. Again, we have two options. We can break it apart here and look at piece 1 and piece 2, or we could break the shape up here and look at this as piece 1 and this as piece 2. And since I have this here, this is how I'm going to break it apart and how I would like you to do it, because that's how the notes will show you. Let's start with number 1. I want you to find the volume of number 1. Come back when you have put in your answer. Okay. Volume is length times width times height. In this specific shape, I need a length and a width. And I did it on the top instead of the bottom because I can see the width is 3. And I need a height, which I can already see that the height is 2. It's 2. So what we need to find is this piece right here, or the piece on the top, because the 9 goes all the way across. And we can't use 9, we have to use the part of 9. So what we have to do is we have to use the fact that we know that 4 centimeters is the length down here. So that means this up here is 4 centimeters. So I have this part being 4, which means this part has to add up to 9. So 4 plus 5 equals the 9 all the way across that we need. So this piece, the length, is only 5. So I'm going to take 5 times 3. That again is my length. The length is 5 times the width is 3, and then times the height, which is 2. So you should have multiplied then 5 times 3 to get 15, and 15 times 2, which gives you 30 centimeters cubed. Now I want you to find the volume of the second piece. Come back when you have that answer. Okay, so this one we actually have all of the pieces for. When you were looking at volume here, what I wanted you to see was this is 4, that's your length. Your width is this piece. Now remember, this is the same as this, which is the same as this piece over here. So you see that the width is also 3. And the height they gave you as 5. So the volume you should have done is 4 times 3 times 5. you should have done 4 times 3 is 12 times 5, and 12 times 5 is 60. So the volume of the second piece was 60 centimeters cubed. Now go and find the total volume of this shape. Come back when you've put in your answer. Okay, so you added 30 plus 60 and found that the total volume is 90 centimeters cubed. So really all it is finding the volume of the two separate shapes and bringing it together. The tough part is finding the missing sides so that we know that we have the right length, width, and height. So now that you're done with your notes, please bring them up to me and show me you're done, and I will give you your worksheet to start working on. Thank you.